Nice. Welcome back to the Rick Jensen Show. Sitting in for Rick Jensen today is Colin Flaherty. That's me, sitting in with my older brother, bigger, smarter, wiser. Did I leave anything out, John?
Just all around good guy.
Oh, man. No, we already got that established, the truth or untruth of that. John, you want to introduce our guests and tell us?
Sure. Very happy to have in the WDEL studios today two very special people, not only professionally but also personally. Kara Briggs from the WDEL studios.
Thank you, John.
And also August Muzzi, goes by Muzz. Muzz, thanks for coming in, and I'm glad to see you're up and around there.
John, thank you for having me here today. Thank you very much.
You know, what we're going to talk about is a very successful book that Kara, I guess, publishing came out maybe a year ago. Kara published a book by Arcadia Publishing Company called The 40 Acres, and it documents the life in the neighborhood from its development in the late 19th century in Wilmington, Delaware, to the decades of the most recent. And Kara, you're a longtime resident of the 40 Acres. You and your family before you. What inspired you to write a book about a small section of the city of Wilmington like that?
Well, John, as you say, my family's been in the neighborhood for many years. My children are actually the fifth generation to live in the neighborhood. And I didn't understand why some people around me were starting to refer to 40 Acres as Charlie Square. And I wanted to investigate that further, and I wrote my master's thesis on how that actually happened, and how
you wrote a master's thesis on the 40 Acres.
It's
nice.
Not just on 40 Acres, but how commercialism can sometimes interfere with historic context and identity.
Very nice.
Hey, Kara, explain to our listeners, what is the 40 Acres? What are the boundaries and how it got the name?
Well, it depends on who you ask. There are a number of ways to define the boundaries. There's the traditional boundaries, and then there are the conservation district boundaries. We
don't give a damn about anything called a conservation district. Tell us where the 40 Acres is.
If you don't care about the historic district boundaries, then it would incorporate the actual Charlie Square Shopping Center, and it's from Clayton to Delaware Avenue up to Union, and then down and around Lovering, Wawasset, and Riddle Avenues.
Hey, John, why should anybody care about the 40 Acres?
Well, you and I were born there, and certainly Kara wrote the book there. It's a very the book, I think, documents the life of one neighborhood in the city of Wilmington. It talks about the transition from a working class facility. We had many of the people living in the 40 Acres probably worked in some of the contiguous factories, which were probably many. Kara, what did you find there as far as why the 40 Acres was even started?
One thing that really fascinated me when I was doing my research and trying to find out more about the true history of the neighborhood and how it got started was it was an experiment. It truly was an experiment. A man named Joshua Heald wanted to build a passenger railway, and wanted to see about moving people out of the city into the suburbs. And if you were to walk around 40 Acres today, you would be like, this is the suburbs? What are you talking about? This is part of the city.
So 40 Acres was a suburb?
It was a streetcar suburb. It was an experiment in housing development, really.
Did this guy make any money on the 40 Acres?
He made a lot of money on the 40 acres.
Oh, sorry, John. Sorry, John. My brother, everybody should know, my brother John doesn't like business people who actually make money. Sorry about that, John.
Yeah, I hate them all. They're media. Go ahead, Kara.
It was a lucrative experiment. J.T. Heald, and he and his friends, all board members of the Wilmington Railroad, got
was
together.
Was that the trolley?
That was the trolley.
Can you still see trolley poles over in the 40 acres?
Trolley poles?
John, can you still see those trolley poles over there?
Well, I'm sure there probably are. Most people don't know what a trolley pole is, but it is fascinating to think that the 40 acres, I guess, going out Delaware Avenue was the end of the line for the trolley line there at, was it Kelly's Logan House, I guess?
At one point, yeah, that was one terminus, and they called that the Middle Depot.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Now, our other guest, John, he's been in business in the 40 acres for how long, Muzzy?
43 years.
And Muzzy, you've seen things come and go in the 40 acres. Why don't you tell our listeners what it was like when you first started there as far as your customer mix and where they worked from and how it's changed over the years?
Well, okay, we started in 1967, and the basic thing that I've seen changing, we have a lot more of the professional people in there right now. It used to be in 67 an absolute working class neighborhood. We had many, many, many industries in there. We had Nabisco down the street from us. What'd they make there? Cookies.
What kind of cookies?
I don't know, Colin. I wish I did.
Inquiring minds want to know, Muzzy.
Lorna Dunes, okay, Muzzy.
Did they make Lorna Dunes there? See, my brother knows all this stuff. He knows everything except what he's supposed to know.
Well, Lorna was there. I'm not sure about Dune. But anyway. But we also had Shin Sheet Metal. We had the biggest textile dyeing plant down the street from us.
You know, people don't know how. We were talking about this yesterday. People don't know how huge that place is and was.
Incredibly huge. Bancroft Mills.
How big? Is that like a mile long, that building?
Colin, mileage-wise, I'm not sure, but it is enormous. I mean, now we've got all these really, really upper-end condos and what else do we have down there, Kara?
Some of the mill buildings are still there and just sitting.
And they're empty. They're huge, empty buildings on the Brandywine. You walk by them and you go, wow, that looks like a museum to another era.
Yes. But we had a lot of industry, and unfortunately,
and these people all came to your restaurant for coffee and lunch and dinner, and
for the most part, yes. And as a matter of fact, when we first started there in 1967, we opened at 5 in the morning. We closed 5 in the afternoon, 6 days a week. The reason we were there at 5 in the morning was because there was a shift change at 6 o'clock down at the mill, and we would get a lot of the guys coming in for breakfast. And obviously, we would get a lot of the guys coming out after the 6 o'clock shift for breakfast. We had one gentleman that worked in our store that did nothing but do the coffee. He would. We still have the unit in the store. It makes 3 gallons of coffee on the one side, a big old urn, and it makes 3 gallons on the other side. And his job all day long was strictly to make coffee. So that can tell you how many people we had in and out of that little store at that time.
Now, what happened, John, if you don't mind me asking Muzzy, what was it like when all these places started closing down and moving out? I mean, you could tell.
It was very bad on our business because obviously you weren't getting the traffic. We were getting a lot of younger couples moving in to the residential section, but a lot of those buildings that were there because of industry were closed up, so you lost quite a few people in that area.
We lost the industry over there, but was there ever any danger, Kara, of losing the 40 acres as a place to live? I mean, we lost a lot of neighborhoods in Wilmington.
I think up until the Charlie Square Shopping Center, people still knew that was 40 acres. They knew that section of town.
Now, I'm talking about the boarded up houses. I'm talking about the crime, which so far I think the 40 acres has kind of avoided.
Well, as Muzz can tell you, I mean, the neighborhood definitely stumbled. I mean, there were buildings that were boarded up and places you just didn't go near. And
Muzz, that has since that's since kind of come back.
Well, thank God. What happened was when we arrived there in 1967. Quite a few of the residential buildings were boarded up, and in fact, I believe we were the first. The building directly across the street from us was the first building that was in that homestead program. You bought the house for $1.
Tom Maloney did that, didn't he?
I don't want to say yes or no, but yes, okay, I assume so. But yes, it was the first house that was on that program, and they bought it for $1.
John, you remember that program, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Muzz.
And I think you had to live there for 3 years, I believe it was, and bring it back up to code. And that seemed to work out beautifully because that was a boarded up building. and it certainly helped the neighborhood. Then we had a lot of other investors coming in who were buying up 2 or 3 houses together in like in a block sort of situation. And they would renovate one, sell that one, renovate the next one, sell that one, renovate the next one. And then the neighborhood just started to blossom. And then, as I said, as all the young professionals were starting to move in, most of these people, and I don't want to be exact on anything I'm saying here, but most of those people would only have maybe 1 or 2 children at most, if they had any children at all. They would build up the property. They would obviously bring it up to code, and make beautiful, beautiful properties out of this area. And we're so thrilled to be there right now because of obviously everything, the property values have maintained very well. And the neighborhood is a beautiful, safe neighborhood. It really is an incredibly safe neighborhood.
John, we like walking around the 40 acres. I mean, you walk around over there, you can see all this Wilmington history. You see all the old buildings. You see the train station. It's almost like if you look the right way, it's almost like you're seeing Wilmington the way it was 75, 80, 100 years ago.
Well, you and I were born in the 40 acres on Wawassa Street, and it certainly has changed quite a bit. I mean, it wasn't far-fetched back in the 50s to see a lot of public drunkenness, say, guys going down to Kelly's Logan House. And I understand, Muzz, that on a few occasions, one of those guys that will get a little bit too tipsy would fall asleep on your front steps there.
Yes, we had one person in particular who many, many mornings, as I walked up to my front step, I would have to kind of nudge him to get him off my front step because he was one of the locals, and I believe he was a veteran. Again, some of my information is kind of clouded. But he was a veteran, and obviously you wanted to treat him with respect. And also, as he got older and older and older, he would get a little violent when you would go to shake him and wake him because he didn't know if it was someone trying to steal his money or if there was some other situation there. So I would go up, I would shake him and stand back about 10 feet and just see what his reaction was that morning.
Hey, John, I think our listeners are eager to hear the AccuWeather forecast.
And I hope our guest, August Muzzi and Kara Briggs can stick around for another segment of the 40 Acres.
Oh, yeah, they're going to stick around for a while. Kara, you want to read this? Okay, Kara, you read the AccuWeather forecast. Good. Now, Kara's declining. Okay, this is not brought to you by Kara. This is brought to you by Colin. So here's the forecast. Greg, is that the Nutcracker Suite? You playing that in honor of my co-host, my brother John?
Hi.
Okay. Hi. Welcome back to the Rick Jensen Show. You're on support. Rick is taking some well-deserved break this week. You're here with Colin Flaherty and my older, bigger, smarter, taller brother John Flaherty. And we're also joined in the studio with, well, John, I want to let you tell about who our guests are, and you're going to ask them a few more questions.
Sure. Kara Briggs, the author of the 40 Acres book by Arcadia Publishing, and August Muzzi, a longtime 40-acre establishment who owns Angelo's, longtime 40-acre establishment. Kara, why don't you just go over the logistics of what it takes to write a book? You wrote a book about the 40 acres, but I think whatever kind of a book you're going to write, there's probably certain steps you have to take initially. Maybe that would help some of our listeners who also intend to become authors in the future.
Well, a book of this nature, being published by Arcadia, they are very focused on photographs. They, of course, want the history. They want the story.
Now, Kara, everybody in Wilmington has seen this book, right? When you go to a drugstore or a bookstore, it's all over the place.
It's wonderful. It is all over. It's at Angelo's. It's at Shanley's Irish Imports. It's at Happy Harry's.
That's at all Barnes and Nobles and Borders. And
get it on Amazon. It's everywhere. And this is my first book, and it's thrilling to see it there. But it was a joy to put together. Although it came out of my master's thesis. Of course, in a thesis you don't have photographs like this. And
you've got great photographs. I mean, you have hundreds of old photographs from the 40 acres.
And while a lot of them came from places like the Historical Society of Delaware or Hagley, a lot of them came from private collections from within.
Of course, there's photos at Muzzi's, Angelo's Diner, Muzzi's photos. You see photos of Muzzi and my co-host John. You see them with Bill McLaughlin. You see them with Jumpin' Joe Biden